Do you yearn for a penthouse with a view of the city lights? A private jet to whisk you away to exotic destinations? Or perhaps a golden toilet seat? Look no further. Our exclusive crash course promises to transform you from a mere mortal into a Machiavellian mastermind. Say goodbye to ethics and welcome pure opulence into your life today.
Corruption. To some, it is an unwelcome sin. To others, it is a one-way ticket to riches and power. Hello and welcome to an exclusive one-stop guide to becoming the corrupt, yet incredibly rich and powerful individual you have always dreamed of becoming. I'm Wickle Wobbit, and I'll be your mentor, host, and a master of corruption that is going to get you from a rags to riches in a way that no other can. We will also be joined by a real-life mastermind of corruption to share their insider tips, tricks, and anecdotes. All anonymous, of course. So, before we get started, I just want you to get in the right mindset, okay? Do not let others tell you you can't or shouldn't be corrupt. Ignore them. If you follow the steps in this guide and soak up what I'm selling here, I promise you are more than capable as any other to bribe, blackmail, embezzle, sabotage, and flatter your way to the very top. So then, what is corruption? I'm telling you this now for free. You can't join the ranks of the corrupted elite without knowing some of the Billy basics. Essentially, my baby rabbit minions. Corruption is the delicate art of misusing entrusted power for private gains. This can take many different forms, such as bribery, extortion, cronyism, nepotism, patronage, graft, and embezzlement, all of which you will need to master. You can practice the fine art of corruption in both public and private sectors, and even charities and not-for-profit organisations. So you see, there are no limits on who can get involved in this lifestyle. It really is accessible to all, including you. That's what I love about corruption. It's truly inclusive. Although many will try to discourage you from becoming corrupt due to numerous so-called implications, don't listen to them. But just so you know, these are tactics people will try on you to mislead you away from the rewarding path to pure corruption.
Hey, fuck you, mate!
You will hear people moan about things like economic damage. They will say stuff like,
corruption is bad because it can distort markets and damage economic growth.
However, what they won't tell you is that you won't be directly impacted by any of this as long as you are consistent and dedicated. You will be rich and powerful. So what does it matter that the markets are distorted or the economy is damaged? Your bank account certainly won't be. People will also whine about things like social inequality, political instability, and moral decay. Boo-hoo-hoo. Nobody cares about that rubbish. If you really care about those things, just live your life morally and don't become rich and powerful through corrupt means. It's that easy. Don't come whining to us about how we should be living our lives. Our anonymous guest will be known as W. So W, welcome. It's an honor to have you on for us, and thank you for giving up some of your time today. So, first question I have for you is, how do you feel about all the bad things people say about being corrupt?
Yes, hi Wikiel. Thanks for having me on. So, what do I think about the bad things people say? Well, to be honest, Wikiel, I haven't even thought about those things for years. When I first started out my journey to incredible corrupted riches, one of the first things I focused my energy on was to put all my ethics and morals on the shelf. I knew that if I really wanted to succeed, I had to forget about those things and focus on what really matters in this game, myself.
Okay, great stuff. So, one more question before we move on. What would you say to anyone looking to start out in this field?
Well, the thing is, Wikiel, unless you get yourself into the right mindset, you will never get that far in this game. It really is an all-in scenario. You can't approach this with a half-baked attitude and expect to come out on top. So park your morals and think about what you truly want to get out of this life. As long as you're there, everything else will fall into place for you. Honestly. Oh, and one last thing. Remember, nobody and nothing else matters but you.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, W. We will come back to that absolute legend a little bit later on. But for now, let's advance in this crash course, shall we? I want you to start your journey towards corrupt riches and power today. So, to become corrupt and to be successfully corrupt, you need to have an understanding of who you should be, as a person, as a character, and as a determined human being that will not stop at anything to make this work for you. You may need to make some slight adjustments to your personality traits, character attributes, skills, and learnt behaviours. But trust me, as long as you persist, you will get there eventually. This will be an incredible journey that will only reward your efforts. So, anonymous guest who nobody will ever be able to track down. What sort of person do you need to be to get the most out of a corrupt lifestyle? What does it take?
Well, it's simple, really. You need to prioritize self-interest over the greater good. Don't get distracted by being a good person all the time. None of this really matters in the end as long as you have cash and power. And besides, you can pretend to be good once you have those things by donating to charity or even setting up your own charity, which of course is great for avoiding certain taxes. You also need to forget about integrity. It's not important. Having integrity is detrimental to this lifestyle, so forget about it. You also need to get used to living a lie, so mastering the art of secrecy and deception will pay off for you if you get it right.
Yes, interesting. So, I suppose this naturally takes us to the next subject, which I think is absolutely critical for success in this field, and that is exploitation of power. What's your take on this one then?
Yes, exploitation of power then. What's this all about? So this is about exploiting one's position of authority or influence to extract personal benefits at the expense of others. Now you might be thinking that this is something that comes much later in your journey, but this is not true. Everyone will have some kind of power over others, whether that be your boss, colleagues, trainees, or even family and friends. You must take the time to map out your own network of people and identify all their vulnerabilities that you could exploit to gain something for yourself. As you continue to progress, you will naturally identify opportunities for exploitation. However, keeping a note of your network of people as it grows will help you keep track of all these opportunities. You never know when one of those connections will come in handy later on.
Yes, of course. There are no limits to who you can exploit. Even family members and friends can be used to advance your position. Your morals know no boundaries. I like it. Thanks. Right then, I've told you all you need to know about your personality and character. How you should define yourself as a person. But remember, you need to create a facade of goodwill and niceness to hide your true self from everyone. Nobody must know who you truly are underneath. Well, apart from all your victims, I suppose. But who cares about them? So, let's get to the really juicy bits now, shall we? What are the specific tools at your disposal for ensuring that you always come out on top no matter what happens? Okay then, let's start with bribery and blackmail, shall we? Bribery is the absolutely classic exchange of money, or sometimes even favours for influence or action. A little something to grease the wheels, so to speak. And blackmail is the use of real or artificial compromising evidence about someone that they don't want anyone else to find out. And they will do anything to make sure you keep it that way. The combination of bribery and blackmail is such an invaluable tool at your disposal. Identify people that will take bribes and record every time you bribe them so you can use that to blackmail them later. And anyone who doesn't take any bribe from you, find a way to blackmail them. What you need to do is force the hands of people so they cannot refuse to take bribes from you next time. This is a classic and highly effective technique that I have. That our anonymous guest has used plenty of times before. W, you have an anecdote about this bribery blackmail combo, don't you?
Yes, Wakil, I do. So a few years ago, when I was just starting out my corrupt journey, I was refused a promotion I had been working towards for months. I put in so much hard work and dedication to get that promotion, and I bloody well deserved it. But instead, my boss chose to promote some half-wit over me. That was it. I cracked. I wasn't going to do it anymore. So I pretended to celebrate with my boss and my newly promoted colleague. I kept sneaking shots of vodka in their drinks and got them so leathered they could barely talk. I then suggested we go to a great club I knew. What they didn't realize was the club was a strip club. Before they knew it, they were sat down with 3 or 4 ladies dancing around them, and I snapped some extremely compromising photos of them. They were so drunk at the time, they barely noticed what was going on around them. Idiots. I'm shocked they were even allowed in the club. Anyway, I had what I needed and left them there to pick up the extortionate bill I racked up in secret. The next day, I sent them the compromising photos anonymously. I asked them for a nominal amount to keep quiet, something like $2K. I wanted it to be enough so they knew I meant business, but not too much that they wouldn't pay up. Anyway, I had compromising material to blackmail them, and I had a few grand in my pocket. Cut a long story short, it wasn't too long before I was sitting in my boss's office while he was packing his bags. The rest is history.
Fabulous story. Don't we all love a story where the hero comes out on top? Thanks, W. Right then, the next tool at your disposal, embezzlement. Baby. I love this one too. This is about pocketing funds from the company or public coffers. Think of it as a self-imposed bonus, or maybe an investment for all your future endeavours. Some people might call this stealing, but I call it creative accounting. As long as you're able to get away with it, you should be rewarded for your efforts. And don't forget, the more you embezzle, the more money you'll have to bribe other people later. So, it really is a positive feedback loop. Okay, so, I'll be real with you here. Not everyone will ever have much of an opportunity for nepotism, but the advantages of only ever hiring family and friends over more qualified candidates are endless. After all, why not keep it all in the family? And one of the greatest things about nepotism is that you will know exactly how to blackmail and bend people to your will, as you will know them all personally. Right then, how about extortion? This is the amazing art of coercion. Extortion, often romanticized in films as an offer you can't refuse, is the less than gentle art of persuasion. It's like making a sales pitch, except the product is silence and the currency is fear. The extortionist presents a choice that's really no choice at all. Comply with demands or face consequences that range from mildly inconvenient to downright disastrous. So then what kinds of things can you use to actually extort people then? W, I'm gonna bring you back in here to tell us.
Yes. So when you extort people, the type of extortion you use will depend a lot on what type of person and position they are in. So for example, if this person is weaker than you or quite vulnerable, say perhaps an old lady, you might want to use threats of violence. The classic do this for me or else type scenario. But make sure you are not too explicit about what you are threatening them with. Just let them use their imagination. When using threats of violence, you want to make sure that they actually believe you might harm them if they don't comply. Another example is perhaps someone who is really ambitious and cares about what other people think of them. For these types of people, you want to revert to threats to ruin their reputation. Again, make sure you're not too explicit with your threats. but perhaps hint at scandalous revelations that could turn their professional or social standing on its head. You can also use this to turn loved ones against one another, but this type of approach is for professionals only as it's a complex one and requires a lot of preparation. And then the final example is financial duress. Basically, this is about imposing a monetary demand with the subtle hint of a sledgehammer to their bank account. This is a useful tool for people that rely on you for money. I actually have a network of poor people that I pay with a small monthly retainer. I can then turn to them for any odd job, no matter how dirty it is, and they will almost always do it for me because they don't want to lose their retainer. Genius.
Excellent. Thanks again. Right, moving on then. So, what else do you need to master then? Okay, I'm gonna call this segment Rising Through the Ranks. This is about all the things you need to think about when climbing that slippery social or corporate ladder using your newly acquired skill sets. Firstly, make sure you network with the right people. Rub elbows with those that can offer a leg up. Become a social butterfly, fluttering from one group to the next until you have identified some people that you think will be most valuable to you in the future. Then you need to learn how to flatter your victims. Make them think they are the most important person in the room and convince them that you have stuff to offer them in return for their attention. Buttering up superiors and others who could help you get what you need is a necessity. But remember, you may have to ditch them if they prove useless to you later on, so don't get too attached. Remember to use these newly developed relationships as strategic alliances that open doors, whether those doors lead to boardrooms or bedrooms. Who cares? So, what else do you need to do? Diversify, diversify, diversify. Diversify your portfolio of bribes. Don't put all your illicit eggs in one basket. Spread your influence around. A huge top tip from me. A huge top tip from our anonymous guest is, if someone has proven valuable in the past through bribery, do not just assume they will be valuable in the future. So, you must diversify your portfolio of bribes by spreading out amongst the network of possible opportunities. What you also need to do is to keep a blackmail file. Collect compromising information on peers and superiors to ensure mutual assured protection. You can use this later for things like scapegoating, having a convenient fall guy to take the heat if things go south or there is too much attention on you. Next then, cultivate a network of favors owed. Have a so-called Rolodex of individuals who are in your debt and can be called upon when needed. Now, for those of you out there listening who are still young, you have an advantage. Go to university, whether you plan on doing anything with it or not, and make friends with as many people as you can, from as many different backgrounds and specialities. University is ripe with future lawyers, judges, medical professionals, bankers, etc., all of which will prove incredibly useful to you in the future when you're deeper in. Having some compromising material on a future judge will be priceless to you if you ever need a favor from a judge. You must totally master the incredibly valuable art of deception and deflection. You can offer completely false promises to get what you want, but only offering up a portion of what you promised, like offering the moon and delivering a moon-shaped balloon. You can use selective transparency, which is about sharing just enough truth to make the lies more believable or palatable. And also, one of my favorite pastimes, gaslighting. I cannot express to you enough how fun gaslighting people is. This is about convincing others that up is down and left is right until they doubt their own sanity and give in. Gaslighting is great for redirecting attention away from you to the point where you leave people bewildered and confused while you skip off to the bank to admire your riches. You must also master the art of plausible deniability. This is about creating false evidence that might place doubts in people's minds about what you have done. If you get caught, of course. Number one rule is to never get caught. But the second rule is make sure you have plenty of ways to get out of a sticky situation if it ever comes to that. So then, my baby rabbit minions, if you follow these simple steps, the corrupted road to success is a smooth and rewarding one, and will only be a bumpy ride for everyone else that gets in your way. As long as you never get caught, you can accumulate a ridiculous amount of wealth, power and influence, whilst living a luxurious life. However, if you're not careful or dedicated enough, you may be faced with significant legal repercussions, reputational damage, broken relationships, and a serious psychological toll. But don't let that put you off. The journey is totally worth the risks. So from both of us, thanks for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe.